So, I've been having some problems, I guess this is how I should phrase it, having some problems with making music lately. Um, it's going alright, but if I had to rate how my. I don't know if I can make it better, but if I had to rate the album right now that I'm working on mainly, I would say it's like maybe a 6. Maybe a 7. Yeah, I'll be nice to myself. It kind of varies, like, some of it's good, some of it's bad. Anyway, the point being, I'm having some problems. It's taking me a long time to make. It's for some reason, it's just really difficult. Maybe my standards have gone up, and that's why it's taking me a long time to make. But that doesn't matter. What I want to talk about is sort of like one theory I have about why it's been difficult for me to make this album. Because I put a lot of effort into other albums and didn't have this difficulty. So why has it been so difficult to make this album? Um, I'm not sure. I mean, there's probably a variety of factors, but one thing I was thinking about is Brian Eno. He once said something like, he has this word, I forget, it's some pun with the word scene. I think it's like scenius or scene intelligence. It's one of those. Like you have intelligence and scene intelligence. I think that's something like that. Basically, the idea that whenever you look in history and find some genius artist and you look closer, they were always part of a very strong and vibrant scene, and they always came out of it, and then you see these one singular genius artists, but really what's important is not just individual genius but scene genius, like having a strong scene backing the artist is also something that creates genius. That's what he says. And so you have to be a part of a good scene. Now the thing is that's weird about me, or weird about my situation, is that I'm like part of scenes, but like I'm like on the edges of the fringes of the Venn diagrams of like 50 different scenes, and not really like a big part of any of them as far as I know. I don't know. It's weird. Like you got like the whole Anlo people. So there's a in that scene there's a big. I'm talking about music and art here. They have this sort of particular style. I'm thinking a lot about like Plunder and Starman and these type of people. They have this sort of like very particular attitude around art that is like um, it's like it's very fun and sort of like light-hearted, but it's also what I call the new sincerity movement, sort of post-ironic, where it's about being true to your feelings and stuff. But it's also very much like we don't want to suffer for our art at all. We just want to. If it becomes difficult or tedious or annoying and suffering for my art, then I'm not doing it. Just do it to have fun, basically, sort of situation. And it's also all very like hip hop oriented and stuff like this. Now I like that sort of stuff. Not that much. It doesn't speak to me too deeply to my personality. Maybe because I'm not so into the hip hop scene like they are. And obviously I like rap, but I'm not like as deep into it as like Plunder is, for example. Um, the that sort of music where it's like sort of a, how do I put it, light-hearted, fun, silly type of music. Although I value it, like I can see the appeal and I can see the value in it, and I've made it. I tried it, right. I tried to be into this scene. Where that's what Akiba Trap Superstar was. Well, that was that was me trying to make a Plunder album just to see what would happen to me, really, and it was also me being a bit nuts. We're going a bit manic and making like 50 songs a day or whatever. But so I tried to be into that, and honestly, like Akiba Trap Superstar, it's a fun album. It was kind of enjoyable to make, and I'm glad that I don't regret doing it. But it's of very little value to me. It speaks to me very little. Even though I like the idea behind it, it's just not really, doesn't feel super me. It feels like a fun thing to do, but it doesn't feel like super speak to me, deep artistic type of stuff. Like in the same way, like I like Ralphingo, but I've listened to the albums like a few times. Like I listened to all the albums like once, and I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good. But like they're not like, a lot of my friends think Ralphingo is the best albums ever made. Like Carnival, I listened to Carnival. I thought it was alright. Like I didn't dislike it. I'd maybe give it a 6 or 7. Like it was fine. It was a good album, but it wasn't like the best album of all time. And I don't really understand why. Like, I mean, I kind of understand why people think it's. Some of my friends think it's the best album of all time, but I don't think I will ever think it's the best album of all time, or even that good. No offense, but it's just not doesn't speak to me too closely on like a personal, uh, you know, subjective level. That's what I'm trying to say. None of that sort of music really speaks to me on a personal level. If I mean, I really like Plunder's music, and some of Plunder's music has spoken to me on a personal level, but again, like it's sort of it's not something I can relate to that well. I think it's just the best. Like, I can relate to it in the part, and I can relate to it enough to appreciate it, but I can't get deep into the attitude that creates that sort of thing. The scene, really. Like, I can't. It doesn't quite mesh with me. It's close, but it's like for someone who's 3 steps removed from me, which is good because most things are for someone who's 50 steps removed from me. So it's pretty damn close to being me. It's not quite me. The only art that exists that is no steps removed from me that I've ever found is Shinsei Kamate-chan demos, Serial Experiments Lane, and that's it. Maybe Subahibi, but no, even Subahibi is a few steps removed from me because it's for people who like Wittgenstein and have actually read Wittgenstein, whereas I'm someone who likes Wittgenstein but has not read Wittgenstein. Well, I've read a little bit, but not finished any of his books. And stuff like that. Like, there's a bunch of like, do you see what I mean? Like, it's close. It's pretty close, but it's not quite my scene. It's sort of like a scene I'm adjacent to. The whole Anlo stuff, the whole Plunder and, Ralph Ingo stuff, like that whole aesthetic is close to me. The Lil B aesthetic. I like Lil B, but I'm not like obsessively into Lil B, like Plunder is, for example. Or Space Ghost Pub. I actually, to be honest, even though I like Space Ghost Pub, like I have absolutely no desire to really care about Space Ghost Pub. And it's the same with like basically everything. That you could talk about anything that I'm involved with in the same way. Like anime. Oh, I like anime, of course, but I'm not, I don't actually spend that much time watching anime these days. I haven't watched anime for a while now. Even though, when I do watch it, I tend to enjoy it. I'm just, I'm not super obsessive with it. Like a lot of people in the West, anime fans are like very into must watch every anime. Like, it's a checklist, and the more anime you've watched, the more points you have. I fell into that trap for a while. It was not a good way to enjoy yourself, and so I stopped doing that. Burned myself out pretty fast there. And so, after that, I sort of was like taking a step back, and I was like, I enjoy anime, particularly like, there's anime that I like that I can't say anything bad about, like Sketchbook Full Colors, which is the most recent show I watched. Like, I like that show, but I don't know, it doesn't... Firstly, that show is not a show that's popular in the anime community. There is no way you can go to really talk to everyone who likes that sort of thing. In fact, the anime... Not that there is an anime community, like, that's a meme. The idea that there is an anime community, that hasn't been a thing since the 80s. There's 50,000 different anime communities, and none of them quite fit me. There's people who really like the sort of... I'm like, oh, my favourite anime is Lane, so let me talk to the people who like the sort of philosophical, artsy type anime. And they all go and watch, like, fucking old 70s and 80s shit, like Rose of Versailles, and they're all into, like, Belladonna of Sadness. Actually, I quite like Belladonna of Sadness. They're a bit, like, they're like, very, into, like, the idea of high-class type shit. Like, oh, we don't watch stuff for children. We watch the serious art anime and stuff like that. I'm like, no. I like the art anime, but I also like the kids anime. I like, and there's like the wider sort of more popular Reddit tiered anime community, and they generally, you would have said previously that they watch shonen, but nowadays they watch like seasonal shonen and action shows like Jujutsu Kaisen, probably the most recent example. And I'm not interested in those at all. I tried to watch Vinland Saga on Young Sai's recommendation. It was completely boring and uninteresting to me. Completely not interested in that. Now, that's probably pretty close to how the Japanese anime community is, watching a lot of seasonal stuff because you watch what airs on TV or on Nico Nico or whatever. And, that's what is in the discussion about. There's not much of an emphasis on talking about old stuff. So neither of those really appeal to me because most seasonal stuff isn't that interesting to me. I'll check if there's like a nice slice of life show. Maybe I'll watch the one slice of life show that comes out every season, but that's about it. You know, for example, sometimes you have a situation where like, so recently there was an anime called Wonder Egg Priority, and everyone seems to really like Wonder Egg Priority, and everything I've read about it seems like something that I would like too. I have absolutely no desire to watch it. Yeah, sure, I'd probably like it. I'd probably enjoy it. I have no desire to watch it. Like, oh, why don't you want to watch it? Just because I don't want to watch it. You know, I could. I'd probably like it, but I don't want to. Fuck you. That's the sort of person I am. There is like, I just don't quite. I don't fit in with the scene. And then there's like the eroge visual novel stuff. Like I like visual novels. The good thing about visual novels is that they are built in with gatekeeping. They are built in with a filter, a normie filter, multiple normie filters. The biggest one is length. That they take a fucking long time to beat, and so you don't get idiots coming in who don't know their shit. Because, you know, in order to actually be into them, you have to dedicate a lot of your life to playing multiple, like, 50-hour long fucking books with the slideshows. You have to dedicate hundreds of hours of your life to reading Chinese slideshow porn. And, you know, most people are not willing to do that. No one wants to put in that effort. People generally, in fact, the visual novel communities that exist are often about one visual novel. Like, there's a very big Danganronpa community, for example. There's a very big... what's the Ace Attorney community? There's, you know, these are the sorts of things that exist. But the visual novel, people who are into visual novels, they tend to be extremely dedicated. And also, they have shit taste. This is what you think, like, oh, well, at least these people who are really into visual novels must have good taste since they didn't get filtered. No, the more I play, the more I find out that these people have bad taste. Just like with everything, most people have shit taste and like the most normie boring stuff. Like, the most normie boring visual novels are the most popular ones, the ones that have the wider appeal. The Keys stuff, the Grisaya stuff, like those are the most popular. Grisaya, not good. I mean, it has some good parts. The common route is good, but people are like, oh, it made me cry so much. It's not good. Like, if you like, there's so, and that's like everything. You know, you can never avoid that. That the most, obviously, the most lowest common denominator stuff floats to the top. Whereas I want to see the weird shit, you know. And there's a bunch of good weird shit in visual novels, but not as much as you might think. Like, there's actually very few Denpa visual novels. Some people class some strange oh, well, that doesn't matter. I don't want to really spend too much time talking about visual novels. But what I'm saying is, I can't just like walk into any visual novel community, like a Discord server or something, and feel at home for two reasons. Firstly, I haven't played that many because they take a fucking long time to beat because it's a big fucking effort, and you know it takes like at least a week to beat a visual novel, probably longer, and sometimes I just lose motivation. Like, I have lost motivation to finish Canon. Even though I liked it, it's just so fucking long that I just lost motivation to finish it. I might finish it one day, I don't know, but it just takes a long time, and, you know, my mind moves on to other things. Haven't marked it as dropped, haven't even marked it as on hold, because maybe one day I just lost interest because it takes such a long time to beat, and Canon's not even that long comparatively to some other visual novels. The point being that the same thing that filters out the people I don't like, the same thing that filters out the normies, filters me a little bit too, because, you know, it just physically takes a long time to do. And the second thing is that even if I were more into visual novels and I'd played a lot of them, and I felt like I could hold my own in a conversation, I wouldn't really be welcome anywhere, because they all like the normie shit, and I don't like that shit too much. So, there's something. I mean, I also like some of the normie shit. I just don't like the super normie shit. Like, it's a bit difficult to describe. Again, I feel like I need to be more experienced in the medium before I can give a very clear outline of my taste, because I haven't physically played enough visual novels to tell you more specifically what my taste is. So yeah, maybe you might be surprised that I like some stuff that you might consider normie shit. I don't know. Normie has different names in my head. Don't worry about it. None of this makes any sense to anyone except me. So I don't fit in with, like, all of these little scenes that I like. I don't really fit in with the anime people. I don't really fit in with the visual novel people. I don't really fit in with any of the anime people, because there's a billion of them and none of them are me. Like, none of them have the same taste that I have. It's a very rare type of taste to have. And there are, like, anime communities that I'm a part of. One of my favourite places on the internet that I go every day is in some way an anime community. I mean, it's anime-centric. Pretty much, most people on that website are into anime, and they actually have pretty decent taste. Some of them don't, but some of them like, you know who you are. Actually, I don't think that person watches my videos. Some of them like bad anime, like Sword Art Online. There's a Sword Art Online. There's an ardent Sword Art Online defender. Code Geass is, these type of things. But in general, people actually have pretty decent taste on that website. And if I ever want to talk about anime with someone, I could either just message Plunder or one of my other friends who's into anime, or just talk about it on that particular forum, which I won't specify the name of. So, I don't really have a need to fit in. I don't know, it's weird. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I don't have a scene. Like, that's just a place that I go. But is it a scene? I don't know. It's weird. And then there's, like, back to my music. Like, none of the people I'm friends with make music like music I make. None of the people I talk to, I mean, some of them might share taste with me. Like, some of them, like, many of my friends like, the same black metal I like, or the same punk I like, or whatever. But none of them make it. None of them make similar music to me. No one I know makes anything vaguely similar to the stuff I make. I mean, maybe sometimes when I make stuff that's more close to what they make, that's different. Like when I made Akira Trap Superstar, because it's on purpose more similar to Ethernet stuff, and on purpose more similar to, Ralph stuff. Like, but other than those situations, when I make the music that I feel speaks to me most closely, it sounds nothing like anyone else that I'm friends with. It sounds similar to other artists that I like, of course, because I'm inspired by them. And, I'm not saying I'm a mega genius, but, like, my sort of noise pop thing barely exists. There's not many people doing it. There is no scene. And so I don't have all the advantages of a scene. As far as I know. Like, I think I created the scene, because there's a few people doing it now. Like, people have messaged me on Twitter and said, I started making noise pop music because of you, and I'm like, what the fuck have I done? Like, that's weird. But I don't talk to any of those people, because they're all like 12 years old. And also, no more friends, I got enough. Wow, just walked into a fucking closet, because I tripped over. Because I've got fucking bites all over my fucking legs. This is what happens when you go out in shorts. I shouldn't have gone out in shorts. Fucking idiot. Now I've got bug bites all over my fucking legs. Anyway. Bugs just love me. Mosquitoes and all that shit, they just find me the most delicious person in the world. I don't know why. But they just fucking eat the shit out of me. So yeah, I have like no scene with which to, build upon with my weird noise pop punk stuff. Which is, it's just a weird thing. Like, maybe I feel like that's limiting me to, like, what level I can attain. Because it's not like, for example, with YouTube videos, I can always sort of have this friendly rivalry with, I don't know if anyone else sees it this way, but I sort of see it like I have not a friendly rivalry, but it's not even really a rivalry. It's more like, I don't know what the word would be. Maybe it is a rivalry. I don't know. Like, a rivalry is slightly too antagonistic. Even a friendly rivalry is too antagonistic. But sort of a slight competitiveness. Or like a slight... More like mutual inspiration. There we go. That's a pretty good... Like when I see someone make a video I like, I think, wow, that's really good. Now I want to do something even better. Mutual motivation, mutual inspiration. Like, that happens with YouTube videos. I don't have that with music. Because everyone makes things that are very different from me. And so I have no... Like... The only time I can get inspiration is by listening to other artists who may be dead, or like, I don't talk to them. They're fucking hundreds of miles away, made their music 50 years ago or whatever. Like, I can't, that's not a scene. That's something different. That's inspiration. But I need like a scene, like the mutual motivation of a scene, the sort of sharing of ideas, the attitude, the community, everything. I don't have it. At least not. I have friends, but I don't have a scene. There's a different thing. So, like, when people say the punk scene, for example, the punk scene in London, they're not all friends with each other, but they're all sort of doing the same thing. That's what I need, right? And I don't have that because the thing I do, I invented somewhat. I don't want to give myself too much credit. I'm not the first person to play guitar loudly, but the specific thing I do is I try at least and be unique with it. I'm not super unique with it. But also the other people who do stuff similar to me, the stuff that I didn't invent, the stuff that is like, that I was inspired by and I stole and all ideas, Like I don't know them. They're just bands that I listened to. Some of them don't even speak English. Like, uh, it's not like I can bounce ideas off of them or like become inspired by talking to them. Do you know what I mean? It's a different thing. Uh, so yeah, I lack a scene. That's the point of this video. I have no scene. That's the message of this video.